Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. I'm going to be creating a Get Well card using some new items from Trinity Stamps. I'll be using the Space Saucer die set to create a shaker element. And I'm going to add a little alien from the UFO Hello die set. This collection is designed to create a circle card. There is a separate die from Trinity Stamps that you can purchase to make a fun UFO. On this card, we're just going to use the little alien. And we're going to place him inside of the space saucer. As I create today's project, I'll bring in a few additional supplies. As always, I encourage you to use what you have in your collection, but if you would like a list of the items I'm using, one has been provided for you in the description below, along with my affiliate link to the Trinity Stamps shop. Let's go ahead and get started with the project. I've already used the Space Saucer die set to cut out all of the pieces for the shaker element. I have 2 frame pieces that I cut from a silver cardstock. I also have some frames that I cut from white. I have cut 8 of these and glued 2 stacks of 4. These are going to be used in lieu of foam tape around the shaker element. I have also cut out all of the other elements that I need for the space saucer. And I have cut 3 acetate pieces using the larger die. This is what I'm going to use to create the panels for the shaker. Let's go ahead and begin with that double panel shaker first. Instead of foam tape, I have stacked cardstock die cut frames. 4 layers of white cardstock have been glued together, and I'm going to adhere these onto the piece of acetate. Once the glue has set, I'm going to fill this section with the bathwater semi-opaque shaker pop beads. Now I'm going to bring in a second piece of acetate and adhere it right over the top. As that's drying, I'm going to start building the alien compartment. I'm going to take the 3rd acetate piece and glue it onto the second white frame stack. Then I'm going to layer the first silver frame over the top. The next step is to finish building the spaceship. I cut out 2 of each of the pieces that are needed to build the UFO. By layering these 2 pieces together, I'm creating a slight amount of dimension without the need of foam tape. This kind of fits together like a puzzle. The silver piece is going to sit right here. I'm going to layer 2 of them together to add some depth. And then I'll lay this frame piece across the top. Now for the tricky part, the little button details. I wanted to avoid inlaying those tiny circles. So I added double-sided tape to the back of this silver cardstock before I die cut it. This way, all of the dots stayed in place. And all I have to do now is glue this top layer over the silver piece with the buttons. It looks just like I spent time inlaying, but I didn't. I'm going to peel off the backing from the double-sided tape and press this in place. Now we're going to assemble our little alien. This comes from the UFO Hello die set. There is a body, a solid head layer, and an outline with facial features and some eye pieces. Now, my hands were struggling a little bit today, so I'm simplifying the process. I cut one of the solid alien heads in pink. Then I layered the facial outline die over the top, and I cut it again. I also cut a full head in black, which, when glued behind the pink, is going to make the eyes and nose stand out. This is much simpler than trying to adhere all of these smaller pieces to the face of the alien. Lastly, I'm going to add those white eye pieces on top for detail. This is a great trick for beginners who don't want to fuss with inlay pieces. It's also a very simple way to add a little bit of dimension without overcomplicating the design. Now we're going to take all of these elements and assemble our double panel shaker. I'm going to place the alien on the acetate with the baubles. And then I'll place the silver frame with the acetate over the top. Once these are all sandwiched together, it looks like the alien is sitting right inside the spaceship with all of those blue space bubbles behind him. But those elements aren't running over the top of the alien, so we've been able to separate them with this double panel shaker. I'm going to attach the lower piece of the spaceship below the alien. This space saucer has a couple of other final details that you can add. There is this little silver topper that goes at the top. This also has 2 additional tiny pieces that could be layered over the top. There's also this little highlight piece that can go over the glass. But I'm going to leave it off because I don't want to lose sight of the alien. All that's left now is to create the background for our card and assemble all the pieces together. I wanted to use the Time Warp Letterpress Plate because it has such a great design for all of the new Trinity stamp space-themed items. I don't have a Spellbinder's BetterPress, so I found an alternative method. Here's what I did. I first dusted my black cardstock with anti-static powder. I'm going to tape the cardstock to my top cutting plate to keep it from shifting. The Time Warp Letterpress Plate is going to sit on top of a magic mat. I'm going to ink the plate with white pigment ink. Now I'm going to carefully align the paper and run it through just like an embossing folder. Now I'm going to carefully remove the cardstock. You'll be able to see some of that time warp design, but it's not as good as if I had the BetterPress. But like I said, this is a great alternative for those of you who don't. I'm going to pour some fine white embossing powder over the top. I'll tap off the excess, and then I'm going to heat set the image with a heat tool. Now, as you can see, this design is not as crisp and it's not raised like a real letterpress, but it is giving us the look of that cool warp speed. Let's finish our card. I trimmed down the warp speed background and mounted it onto some pink cardstock to match the alien, and then I attached it to a black card base. I'm going to glue the shaker spaceship to the center. How cute is that? And I'm going to add a sentiment that I stamped using the Healing Wishes stamp and die set. This reads, "Wishing you a speedy recovery." Perfect for our warp speed theme, right? And that's it. We now have a pink alien double shaker card with a warp speed embossed background and a punny sentiment. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like the video, subscribe, and leave me a comment below. I would also love for you to join the Trinity Stamps Facebook group, where you can share your creations and get tons of inspiration from fellow makers. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.